What's crackling, codelets? So on my community wall the other day, I said that I'd be answering the next 5 questions that were asked in the comments. We ended up getting 6 questions, so I'll go ahead and answer all 6. So from the top, this one's from Pradhumna Pancholi. How good of a designer a developer needs to be? So it just depends. There's a lot of developers who aren't good at designing at all. Like me, for instance. If I need to do a design, like if I'm a one-man shop and I'm doing a job for a client and I'm the only person doing it, I'm not going to contract out the design part, which of course is an option. Then I'll just find a pre-made theme, and typically if you pay money for a theme, it's going to be pretty decent. So you just go find some paid themes. You might be able to get away with a free theme on a really simple website, because there are some decent Bootstrap themes out there. And I'm not saying you have to use Bootstrap. There's a bunch of other frameworks if you prefer something else like Foundation. You don't have to be a good designer if you just want to focus on developer stuff, especially if you're a back-end dev. You may never even touch any of the front end or any of the UI, UX, any of that stuff. Okay, so the next question from Nilanta S is, does database administrators do on-call duties? So I guess that would just depend on the company. I've not taken a position like that before, but something tells me that some companies definitely need their database administrators to be on call in case of an emergency, because that stuff works around the clock. Or probably what they may do is, you work your regular hours and then someone on the other side of the world works the other hours. That way they've got people working around the clock. Okay, so Edgar Chicas. Best options for a web developer with no experience to get a job. I think I may have touched on this in the past. I know I've definitely covered it in some of my live sessions on the Discord server. Sometimes I do like a live Q&A. So if you haven't caught one of those in the past, just keep an eye out for them. I usually tag everybody, and then I give people like 20 minutes, and then we do the Q&A for like 20 to 30 minutes. So anyway, to answer your question, best options for a web developer with no experience to get a job. So first and foremost, you need to be working on your resume and your portfolio. So you're learning at this point. You're going to have projects from the courses and tutorials and personal projects that you're working through. So make sure that you finish those and make them look nice. So that kind of circles back to how good of a designer or developer needs to be. If you're just focusing on back-end stuff, then you really want to figure out a creative way to exhibit that skill set. But in general, you're going to have some type of user interface where someone can go in and input some data or do something and have some type of interactivity with your website or program or game or whatever it is that you've coded, and you want to put that in a portfolio. So you want it to look as nice as possible. And if that means getting help from a designer to make it look nice, then definitely do it. But maybe you can collaborate with somebody who's a little bit better at designing than you are, or maybe that's an area of your skill set that you can hone in on, and maybe you can learn some design stuff. But either way, have a couple of projects, one really good one for sure, and then there's lots of videos from people like Brad Traversy and myself and a couple other YouTubers on how to touch up your portfolio or put it together, and then how to work on your resume. I actually offer one-on-one resume reviews. So if you have a resume and you want me to look it over and tell you okay, get rid of that, keep this, fix that, work on that. And then also I look at portfolios and I'll tell you, okay, this needs to be updated, changed, fixed, whatever. I can definitely give you some advice for things like that. There's other people that offer similar, probably a bit more expensive services, but I know Tech Lead has some type of interview thing that he does where he mentors people through the interview process. And then there's companies like Interview Cake. I know that Rhythm School does some stuff like that, or they don't do it directly, I don't think. I think they partner with a company in San Francisco. But there's a lot of sources out there, resources for you to be able to hone in on your interviewing skills, on making a nice portfolio. And so going a little bit long on this question, but it is an important one, especially since most of my audience are probably looking for jobs and also fall into the boat of not having experience. So you're going to want to have the projects. You're also maybe going to want to do some pro bono stuff. So just do some free work for friends, family, church, small business, whatever it may be, that you can find someone that needs a website and you say, hey, I know how to do that. Let me do it for you. Do it for cheap, do it for free, and that will get you some stuff on your portfolio. And then, especially if it's live, if it's hosted somewhere that you can point an employer to and say, hey, go to www.website.com and check it out. This is something that I worked on that people are actually using. That goes a long way. And then freelance work, that falls into freelance. A lot of people use freelance as like a bridge. So I'm not saying you should go to, I don't even know the names of like freelance.com or Upwork. It used to be Upwork or something like that. But I'm not saying you need to go to those websites and like battle against people that'll work for half or less of the hourly rate as you. I'm saying find people in your local community, do some networking, maybe some cold calling, go to your local library or just use the internet and find a listing of local businesses and just cold call and say, hey, I looked at your website, or I noticed you don't have a website. Can I build you one? Can I make the one that you have better? And there's some things there that you'll learn along the way that'll be kind of tough, where you don't want to get caught up in a huge project and get taken advantage of. But if you can make a little static website or even a simple web app for somebody and then throw it on your resume or portfolio and have that done in less than a month or two without spending too much time on it, then that's going to be really helpful in the future as you're looking for jobs. So lots of other videos out there. Check out Brad Traversy and a couple other people who talk a lot about things like this. And of course, if you have more questions for me, just let me know. If you want to support DevSprout.io, then check out this Chrome extension that I created. You can add it to your browser with the click of a button, and then once it's installed, you can go over to udemy.com, and anytime that you're thinking of buying a course, let's say you're just checking a course out, the extension will notice what you're doing, and it'll actually redirect you to the same course page, but it'll add my affiliate ID to the URL. So you can see here, it's added my ID to the URL. And now, if you do happen to buy that course, I'll make a small commission off of that sale. Okay, moving on to Ferris Borak. What is better, freelancing or working at a company, and why? And we should move to freelance. So basically, you're asking, should you freelance or should you work at a company? That's up to you. A lot of people, I keep bringing him up because I was watching his videos the other day. I think he's got some good content, but like Brad Traversy, for instance, he mentioned in a recent video that he uploaded that you can go work a 9-to-5 desk job and you can make, I don't know, I think the numbers he threw out there were like somewhere from like $150,000 to $200,000 or whatever. If you're a really good developer, like I know Tech Lead said the other day that when he got fired from Facebook the other day, he was making north of $500,000 a year. But that guy's been in the industry for a minute, and he's obviously a pretty seasoned vet. So I wouldn't expect to make near that much money anywhere else. So yeah, 9-to-5 job, depending on where you're located. Like if you're in Dallas, you're probably going to get offered somewhere between like 75, maybe 90 tops, depending on your skill level. If you're a junior developer or entry-level developer, you can get, they may lowball you at like 50 or 60,000 or something ridiculous. But the point is, you can make decent money working 9-to-5. So if you're used to that type of job where you go into work every day, you commute to and from work, and you sit at a cubicle and type for 8 hours with a break or whatever, then that's good. You can make a living that way. Or you can freelance, which has the ability to make a lot more, but also a lot less. And like you can make a lot of money at once and then have a period of time where you're not making any money. So depending on how well you're able to deal with that, it can be really stressful. You could do both of them. Like you could start out as a freelancer and work your way up to get some things on your portfolio, like I mentioned a little while ago, and then that will help you get a 9-to-5 job. There's a bunch of other options for developers too, like remote work, which is nice. So you're kind of working from home, kind of a freelance type feel, but you're also working for a real company. Maybe you're on a W-2, with all those benefits and everything. That's the other thing to consider. If you want to be a freelancer, you got to pay for your own health care, depending on where you live. You got to cover all your own costs. You got to do your taxes differently. So there's a lot of things to consider there, but freelancing is a good stepping stone to getting a full-time job. And, they can be kind of mixed and matched a little bit. But so personally, I have kind of like a remote situation where a lot of my work is freelance, but then my main gig is like remote full-time-ish, and it works out pretty good. So it just depends. It took me forever to get to where I am, and even now, as a mostly freelancer, there's not a lot of job security, so it is kind of a stressful thing to have like in the back of your head. So For what it's worth, a full-time job could be, if you're looking for the job security, it could be more what you're looking for. But again, before we finish with this one, freelancing could be used to kind of build your way up to get that full-time job, especially if you don't have any pre-existing experience. Okay, so Levi M. Why Node.js was chosen for the web dev bootcamp versus other languages? Basically because it's popular. It's a great, well, I'm not going to get it too into the technical of like, oh, it's a runtime or whatever. We'll just say that it's a JavaScript, the language for the backend. But it's really commonly used. It's really fast. It's lightweight, and the syntax is relatively easy to learn, and it's got a huge community behind it. And so I wouldn't say like, oh, Node.js is better than PHP. Like Colt's course is better than what's his name, Rob Percival, because he does PHP and Colt does Node. Like that's definitely not true. There's plenty of PHP jobs out there, just like there's plenty of Python jobs and Ruby jobs. People, oh, Ruby's dead, or oh, PHP's dead, or whatever. Not necessarily, but Node.js definitely has been for several years and continues to be kind of like a buzzword. And that when you're making a course, typically you want to sell something that's trending and popular and being used in the industry, and it is being used. So that basically, I'm sure, weighed in pretty heavy on Colt's decision to teach Node.js. All right, so last question here. For web development, is Colt Sir's course sufficient, or we should learn more courses? So it's sufficient to learn the basics, yes, but if you want to continue in this industry and you want to get anywhere, have a job with a good salary and some job security and continue to grow in your career, then you're always going to have to continue learning. There's some jobs out there where you can just learn everything there is to know about a certain topic and then get a job in that industry and you're set. You don't have to change, you don't have to learn or evolve or anything. That is not the case with web development. You will always be learning. So if that makes you uncomfortable, you might want to reconsider. But just know that you're always going to need to learn more. And if you want to find more courses from Udemy, just scroll down my community wall here. I've got tons of recommendations, and I also have them listed over in the WDB resources channel for the Discord server for Colt's course. I'll link that in the description below. But yeah, to answer your question, Sanskar, basically you're always going to be learning. So Colt's course is not sufficient in terms of long term. Short term, to get from knowing nothing or knowing very little to knowing enough to get your foot in the door, then that's fine. But in terms of like, should you learn more courses? Absolutely. All right, that's it for today. We'll do some more of these here in the near future. Comment below if you have any questions, follow-up questions, anything like that, or if you have any suggestions for future videos. Thanks a lot, and we'll catch you in the next one.